All right, welcome back to another tutorial. I'm going to talk about how I stitch images using the nodal point panorama, not using a tilt shift. So I promised I would do this. And of course, I have picked probably the most complicated scenario on the planet to do a stitching wide angle nodal point panorama. So with that being said, let's go into the field. You'll see me shooting in New York City at the train station part of Central Station. So Grand Central is the older building, and this is just off this more of the train depot or whatever. If I'm messing that up, hopefully, well, someone can correct me on that. But it's right there, and so I walked across. And it's not the most attractive sort of interior. It's not the old, the old train station. The Central Station looks incredible. But it is a scenario that's very difficult. And it's got rafters with beams. It's got the floor that's causing checkerboard scenario. It is a nightmare to stitch, especially when you're using a wide angle lens. So we're gonna go in the field, and then you'll see me kind of talk about it a little bit, and then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna show you how I put it all together. All right, we're gonna do a pan with the Really Right Stuff. First thing I gotta do is get this lens directly over this knob. Okay, and I'm a little off, so that's number one. I've got my 15 to 35, 15 to 35 lens. We're gonna try to do this before I get thrown out. And so if I look at my 15-35, 15 is 135 is my mark. I've already done my nodal point. We'll talk about that later. We're here. Turn the camera on. ISO 400 we don't want. We want to go to 100. We'll go to 200. Start with, because we're set it up. F9. Super wide. Nice. Okay, HDR. Okay, so we're gonna spin it to as far to right there. So we'll see if we can do, let's do 3. We're gonna do 1. And I'll take a look at them in a minute. So I have to have some overlap. So, okay, I am way over, but it's okay. Nice, we got the whole range there. Okay, let's do it again. Here we go, first one. Second one. Third one. At 15 millimeters, pretty wide. So, and then this rail will get in there at some point, so you got to be careful. So there's the rail's in there. Okay, so let's do one more. We're going to go really wide here, rail to rail. Here we go. 1, 2. And everybody's moving down there, so that's not good. And we have not been thrown out yet. That's good news. All right, so we got 5 positions. So the other thing I could do is go back to my standard approach. Where's the... What do I do with this? So let's go down to ISO 50. And take off the... All right, let's now dive in, and I'm going to show you how I put this together. And what we're going to end up doing is, PhotoMerge says this is too complicated. You've seen me use PhotoMerge already to put together a panorama with the tilt shift. We're going to jump over to PTGUI, which is a third-party software that is absolutely amazing at putting together complex stitching. It's not a very expensive program. I say it's not very expensive. I bought it originally, I think it was $199 or something like that. And then it gives you like 6 upgrades, and then eventually they ask you after like 10 years, I had to buy it again. And I think it might be like $149. They probably run specials on it, whatever. But it's invaluable when it comes to stitching your images together, especially super wide angle lenses with a super complex scenario. So let me show you first. Let's see, do I have this? Let me open this up. This is the final image, PSB, final image of the stitching. So I'm not going to go and show you all the retouching. I took this image, let's see if I have it here. This image here was one that I retouched. And the reason, let me get a tab here. The reason why, whoops, let me move this up a little bit for you. I did this one was I did a bunch of images, and then I blended them together. We're going to do a bunch of those scenarios coming up. I had a little bit of atmosphere in here, but this was the one that I did as sort of like under that scenario. But this is the Grand Central Station offshoot of the train part. And so here is the final stitch of the image, no retouching done. So I haven't really did much with the shadow detail and all that. This is pure stitched together. And you can see it's done pretty good. All the rafters, all the lines are great. Down in the corner here, there's a person that's a little stretched because they're walking. And I think it might have to do with when it does I did the HDR, it had to pick one, and it kind of did a little weird thing over here. But outside of that, it looks pretty darn good. So that's the image we want to do. But I want to show you now all the raw images of this right here. So let's see if we can make this a little bigger for you. And I did, because there was so much contrast between the dark shadows and the highlights, I did let me count these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stop bracket. Hardly ever do a 7 stop bracket. However, when I looked at my bracket sequence, I went, you know what? I don't think I really need the 2 of the lightest versions. Maybe I could, but it's there. But basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and we're gonna take all 21 of these. Well, let's do it. Let's all do 21. And I'm gonna go Command R, Command A, and we're going to click the 3 little dots and say merge to panorama, HDR to panorama, all in one. Now, it's not going to work because I tried this earlier. And it's going to sit here probably for 5 minutes going, and it's going to end up and say, I can't do it. So, maybe it will do it. I mean, it's funny. Sometimes I've had PhotoMerge not do something and then I try it later and it works. It's trying its hardest with HDR and panorama all at one time. And I did this earlier as a test, and it said dialogue cannot do. All right, so let's not wait for that. I don't think it's going to work. So let's go back, get out of here, and if we take you remember when I said in the last session that if I take that scenario I just did, do it all at once, so I'm doing HDR and Pano, it does not give you the option to take out movement. So there's a lot of people walking around this floor. So here's a scenario where I have to go and apply sort of the old way of doing it. So we're going to take, well, let me actually go to it. Here's my stitched. So here is the left version HDR'd, the middle HDR'd, and the right HDR'd. So then I grabbed all three of those and I went into PT GUI. I tried photo merge, we'll try it in a second. But so let's go from the scratch here, from the raw images. We're going to take only 5, okay, 5 images, and I'm going to go Command R, Command A, or right click. Sorry, not right click, but select all. That's what I meant. And we're going to go over here and we're going to do our little dotted circle thing and say HDR. So now it's going to go, and I'm going to save each one of the positions, so left, middle, right, and we're going to save it as a DNG. So DNG is still a raw file. Absolutely beautiful, meaning I can still go and merge those together, and I can, well, in this case, a photo merge won't merge them, but if I did photo merge, it would also save, I could save it as a DNG. So that was new to Photoshop a number of years ago, but in the past I had to save it as a TIFF or a PSD or a JPEG. So you lose the raw part. All right, so here we are. This is the left version. Got a little bit of flare there. I think I had my 16 millimeter. So this is what I would say pretty wide. I mean, it's about as wide as you're going to try to do with a stitching scenario. If you get any wider to 16 millimeter, I've tried to do 11 millimeter. It'll work, but then your lines are really freaking out the perspective. But let me stop for a second. I want to say this. When I first got the nodal system before my tilt shift lenses, and digital was fairly new at the time. I had a 12 megapixel camera, 11 point something. And I had a buddy who was an architectural photographer, and he was using a film camera, 4x5. And I said to him, you can stitch it to get a super wide angle lens. And he said, that won't work, never will work. And I said, no, it'll work. And I said, take me, I was in Denver at the time, or visiting him. And I said, take me to the most complex shot that you've always had problems getting. And he said, well, that's the train station in Denver, down at the very end of the downtown in Denver. And checkered floors. And I went in there with a 16 millimeter, shot 3 positions. We went back to the studio, put it together perfectly. He got on the phone and ordered a digital camera, the nodal point, all that stuff right there on the spot, because he had never been able to get that shot. So there's a 4x5 on the planet that could go this wide. I doubt it. A lens wide enough, 47 millimeter, I think, or something like that was one of their super, super wides. But my point is, he saw how easy it was, and it was a complex scenario. This is a very complex scenario. So the reason why I'm telling you that story is that these tools that we have give us options that we didn't have before, or they give us options that we go, it'll blow your mind. I mean, literally go, I can get from this edge to this edge in that station, literally almost 180 degrees. and stitch it together with all the crisscrossing things, and it puts it together. So amazing. So here we have align images. That makes sense. Deghost. So this is where you have off, low, medium, high. Well, I got a lot of people walking around here. Okay. So I'm going to on high, and when you put it on high, it takes a little longer to process, but we're going to say merge, and it's going to tell me where do you want it. So let's go over here, and we're going to call this the left. I'm going to put 2 L's because I already have in there the old one. So where is it at? Day 6, stitched HDR. I think that's what I want right there. Okay, so we're going to say save. And it's going out there and doing this thing. Now, at this point, what I can do is do a slight adjustments. However, it's a DNG, so it's really not as critical to go and adjust it here as you might think. If you were saving as the TIFF, you will definitely want to apply your adjustments. But let's just do that just for kicks. So I'm going to open up the shadows and a little texture, a little clarity, and then a little bit of dehaze. All right, let's just try that. That's a good little setting. So we're not going to say open. We're going to say done. And so what that's going to do is that's going to save that DNG into that folder, and it's waiting there for me. So let's go to the next one, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go Command R, Command A. We're going to right click, say merge to HDR. It's now going to repeat the exact same steps that I did before, and I want to apply the same settings. So we'll go to previous settings here in a second, and it's going to take its time. 5 stitches, 5 images, or 5 images for HDR is a lot. 7 takes a little longer. You get the point. All right, so we're going to say merge, and we're going to say now, I'm going to call this medium, middle. So 2 M's, so it goes to the same spot. Where it is, stitch to HDR, and we're going to hit OK. And then we're going to apply the previous settings and say done. Okay, so now we got 2 of them done. We're going to go to the last one, the right side. Ooh. And we're going to go to here. So hold my shift down, Command R, Command A, open up the little dialog. So merge to HDR. We'll do this one more time. We are now going to go and try to drop this into Photo Merge. When I do my tilt shift, I never have to go to PT GUI. 100% in Photo Merge. When I do my stitching, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I can do it in Photo Merge. However, this is going to be my right, so let's go 2 R's, stitching. This scenario, I had to go to PT GUI. All right, so this is a good lesson for I'm going to hit done here, for us to go through a very complex stitching scenario. So let's go over to my HDR, my stitched HDR folder. I have my MMLLRR. So we're going to pick those. I'm going to hit the command, because I've got those other ones in there. So we're going to go, that's the LLMMRR. So those are my 3 ones I just did. So we're going to say Command R, Command A, and we are now going to try to merge to panorama. Now, 30 minutes ago, this is what happened. It said, unable to merge selected images. Well, we are, no need to panic because I got PT GUI. So I'm going to grab those 3. Here's PT GUI. Let go. There's the 3 images. We are going to say align images. So it aligned the images, and it was in this dialog thing is not very big. Let's see if I make it bigger here for you to see. You go Well, that's not very, well, it's kind of there, but it's not very appealing. Well, if you look up at the right, top left, sorry, there's a whole set of little dialogue things. And I don't know PTGui that well. My son Ben, who's a car shooter in LA, he knows this very well. And in fact, he does his HDR in here sometimes too. I've never gotten to that point. But you have these three little, it's like that cylindrical perspective, whatever. So I'm going to hit the squared up one and look at, there it went. Straighten it all up. Now, because this is 180 degrees, it has to really do some work on it. And this person down in the right-hand corner is a little stretched. And I could fix that if I had to. I'll show you a trick in a minute. But with that, what we do is we say, okay, I want this to be created. I want the output to be not JPEG. I want it to be PSB because it's a pretty big file. PSD, it may come back and say you need to go to PSB. So I just go to PSB automatically. I want a 16-bit output. This pack bits, I don't know much about that. I can flatten it. I don't need layers. So what's the other option here? None. I don't know what that means. There's probably a manual on this. I don't think I've ever read the manual. So we're going to say okay. And then we're going to say create panorama. And hopefully, because there's one in there already, it doesn't freak out. All right. So we are done here. We're going to quit. It says, do you want to save it? No. All right. So there was the one we just did. Okay. So let's double click. And well, we have some little flare up there. Well, that's because my lens is such a wide angle lens. We have, the lines are all good. It's all pretty well put together, except for there's a little stretch down here. This person looks half decent. Don't have much shadow detail there. Let me hit tab. And what we could have done is probably opened up the shadows maybe a little bit more. But let's go down one notch. So here's a little trick that I do on occasion when I do these super wide angles. I will go over here to my marquee tool right here. It's the squared up marquee. Let me just see what it says here. Rectangular marquee. I will hit dead center and pull to the right. Marching ants, I go Command T, and I think I hold the shift. Let me see here. Yep, start over. Hold the shift down and pull a little bit to the left. Okay, so let's say to that point. Command D will deselect that. Then I come back over here, do the same thing, hold the shift down and pull it over a little bit. So let's just say right about there. Command D will deselect that. And there's a little issue up here. Like I said, if we went into my levels, I could probably pull up the shadows just a little bit there. All right, but my point is this, is that if you have a situation where when it puts it together, it's a little bit stretched, you can crunch it in to make it look more like the real thing. So now, since if you don't have a reference photo, you're like, well, that looks fine. But with a reference, you may say, oh, that looks like it's been stretched out too much. And maybe I went too far on that. But anyways, that's another little trick I do. Then, of course, I'll crop it and be able to clean it all up. But that's PTGui. If you're going to do, let's say, you don't want to go the tilt shift route, and you want to do panos and getting extra megapixel captures and some crazy, super wide angle lenses with less distortion, and the reason why you would do a pano, one of the reasons, I would say you probably would invest in PTGui. It would be a good investment because you might get in a scenario like this and you go, oh man, photo merge isn't working. So I'm going to add, before we get out of this scenario, I did a little clip of me talking about mounting my camera to the glass there and all that. And I've showed you some of those little parts and pieces of things. But I filmed it, so I'm going to put that at the end here, and then we're going to go on to the next tutorial. And I'm trying to think. I have not done a coming up. I want to do a sort of a high noon, more of a high noon scenario with that grungy sort of old texture that I put to my landscapes or my urban landscapes. So we'll do that one, and I need to do, I got a whole list over here I'm working on for you, but I want to get all this stuff done. We're going to be doing probably more technical stuff now with retouching and all that to the end of the tutorial. So we're going to keep moving forward, and so we're going to go straight back to me talking about some of the little tools that I use to make this thing happen. All right, we're in here at Penn Station, and I don't know the rules here, but generally you can't use a tripod. So you got to find a solution to get around that. So I just had the Really Right Stuff clamp that I clamped here to the railing. You can get a little bean bag, not on here, but on the Grand Central Station, you can use a bean bag. Places you can set up things. Find a solution that might work for the needs that you have. You can shoot through glass. Like if you go an observatory, we're going to try to go up to maybe an observatory over New York City, but I'm almost guaranteed you're going to be shooting through glass. You can get a rubber hood thing that you put on, and then it blocks the glare from the glass. So there's so many incredible little tricks of the trade. I just bought a little plate that I can mount my ball head onto and set it up, and I can put it on any surface. I'll pull that out maybe a little later. You could tape your camera down. I mean, there's so many things you could do. A lot of times you can shoot through glass, but you usually get glare. But if you get, I think my brother's got a rubber hood that you can put up against the glass to shoot through glass. So there's all these little solutions, and it depends on what you do. Like I may not need to do, a clamping to a rail, but once a year, I don't know. But if you carry that stuff with you, it's not very heavy. The beanbag thing, I was going to get a beanbag at B&H, just got back from B&H. But I thought, well, I'll try this little clamp thing, and then we'll go from there and see if I need the beanbag thing, I'll go back and get one.